Hey guys, Ryan from Code Ninjas here. In this video, we're going to tell you how to install Visual Studio. But first, we're going to back up and answer the question some of you may be asking. What is Visual Studio and why do I need it? Visual Studio is an integrated development environment called an IDE. This is a great tool for a software developer to use to speed up their software development. To show you, I'm going to give you a short example here. It turns out code is not magical. It's just a set of instructions that we give the computer in a language that it understands. And since it's just text, I can use any editor. As you can see here, I've opened up Notepad, which is available to any person with a Windows computer. What we're going to do is make a quick web page. If you can't follow along yet, don't worry. We're going to go over the language we're using, HTML, in our future videos. This is just to show you how an IDE works and how it can make your life a lot easier. So, to start with our web page, we're going to have to know our HTML. So we need to start off by declaring the doc type. And as you can see here, I don't have any help. It's just text, and Notepad doesn't really know what I'm doing. So I need to know how to create all these tags. As you can also see, it doesn't really help me too much. So some of you who have done a little coding before may know that the environment that you're using goes and adjusts the text indentation for you, and this creates readability, right? But this isn't doing that. And so we can see here, I have to know exactly the tags that I'm making. I have to make sure that I remember I'm closing and ending them. I have to make sure that I have no spelling errors. And I have to basically, know everything that's going on. And as you can see, it's a little hard to read as we're doing this here. So what I just did was I created a web page and I gave it a title called The Best Example Ever. And now in the body, which is the page itself, we're going to write some text. So the H1 tag here creates a header, and we're just going to say that this is our example page. We're going to end the tag, and then we're going to do some quick styling here in a paragraph. So we're going to make a paragraph. That's what that P tag is. And then you're going to give it a style. And we're going to say the background color is going, we need to make sure we set an equal sign there. And we're going to say the background color is blue. And if you have a blue background, black text is going to be hard to read. So we're going to change the color to, I don't know, corn silk. Something nice and light for us to read. All right. Oops. I need to end this. Do that. As you can see here, it's really important for me to get all the characters, which we call syntax, correct. Otherwise, this won't work. And then I can say this is my paragraph. And then we just need to make sure we close everything up. So close the P tag, close the body. All right. So now this is a quick web page, and we just want to make sure we save it. So we go to File, Save As. We're going to say all files because this is an HTML file, so we don't want to save it as text or the computer will get confused. And we're going to save it as liveexample.html. All right, save. And then we are going to show you the web page. All right, so there you go. This is what we just created. Now, we're going to do the same thing, but we're going to do it in Visual Studio. All right, so as you can see here, it already has some IntelliSense, so it knows what we are trying to do here. And it gives us helpful suggestions on what we could type. And you can see, since it knows I'm doing HTML, it knows that if I create a tag, I'm going to have to close that tag, and it automatically generates that closing tag for me. So you can see here, I'm able to move a little bit faster because I don't have to do all that extra work. And we can see here, we're going to do a quick body tag like we had, and then H1. So you can see all the suggestions, and the cool thing you can see is that it's automatically indented. So I can actually read this pretty well. And then you can see here, there's plenty of hints that it gives me for my style that I want to do. So dark blue, and then we'll say same thing here. Color is going to be that corn silk. Okay, and is my paragraph. All right, and the other thing that's kind of nice about this, so let's say I made a mistake and I called this style and spelled it wrong, right? It starts formatting this stuff for me when it's different. All right, so I took a little break there, just wanted to see what was going on. Turns out HTML doesn't have the same level of support as some other languages like JavaScript or Python. So there won't be as much error checking in your HTML templates as in some of the other code we'll be doing later. But just to let you know, like, that's a really nice feature that the integrated development environment has. All right, so that concludes the page. And then you can see here, when we go ahead and save the page, let's actually rename this real quick so that we know that this was the Visual Studio one we created. Live example, Visual Studio, VS. Okay, save it as HTML. Perfect. All right, and then let's go to the files here, the video materials. You can see live example, and boom, there we go. That's the page that we just created. So two ways to do it. We use Notepad and we use Visual Studio Code, and you can kind of see the difference there and how using something like Visual Studio Code would make things a lot easier for you going forward. So that's how we're going to do that. All right, so why don't you join me and get it downloaded and get Visual Studio set up. All right, guys, so here we are. We're on the Visual Studio setup page, and let's get started. So I'm on a Windows machine, and the first thing we need to do is download the program. So all the different operating systems should have the same sort of process. So I'm only going to do it for Windows, but if you need help, feel free to let me know. So you download the installer. It should automatically start for you down here. If it doesn't, there's a direct download link here. We're going to run the executable that it gives us, and it'll pop up a little license agreement. And you can take time to read it, but since I've read it already, I'm okay with it. And then for myself, I'm just going to accept the default location. I do want it in my start menu. I'm not going to bother with the desktop icon because I've got way too many icons on my desktop already. And you wouldn't need anything here except for this one. This one is critical because as you go to do more programming, having this available on your path is really important. So for those of you that don't know what the path is the path is how your computer knows what it's looking for. So whenever you add an executable to your path, it's now registered with your computer, so it's okay, I know that program's there. So it's important to add it to your path. This may come up in the future, but that's just a high-level overview of what the path is. And now we're ready to install. So one of the other things I like about Visual Studio Code versus some of the other IDEs is it's pretty lightweight and small. So if you were to use something like Microsoft Visual Studio, which is different than Visual Studio Code, this install process would be a lot longer. And there we go. So we're finished, and we are ready to rock and roll. We are set up here. Now, one of the things that's also really neat about this environment is that it has this button over here called extensions. All right, so now that we've clicked on the extension list, you can see here this is a bunch of extensions that I've already installed, and you don't need all of these because there's a lot of stuff that we're not going to be doing here, at least in the immediate videos. And the only one that I would recommend you getting for now is this HTML CSS support. So if you were to go and search the marketplace, remove this at installed here, and search for HTML, it comes up. It's kind of the second one here, and I would install that one. So you just click on this, and then this would say install for you. The nice thing about Visual Studio Code, if you do uninstall it, like I just did, so we could do this video, it does save all your extensions. So if something happens and you need to reinstall, you don't have to reconfigure everything from the start, which most developers will tell you that when you get a fresh environment, it's going to take you a day to kind of get it installed. So it's nice that this is fairly portable and will be configured when you start over. And that's it. You should now be ready to go, and on our future videos, we're going to use Visual Studio Code to start making some web pages. Thanks, and I'll see you later.